happening not on U.S. soil. It's the same idiotic argument people make, like, I've never been to Jeffrey's Island. No shit, Sherlock. And we've never prosecuted anyone that's been there because that's outside of U.S. jurisdiction. But
no,
cool.
It was in the Virgin Islands, though. Like, that's the other thing on the Epstein thing. He was on Virgin Islands.
No, his island is outside U.S. jurisdiction. But my point is any case we've ever tried against Epstein, which let's not pivot because this is a big pivot, but it's always been about the townhouse in New York, the Palm Beach house, or whatever the F that thing is in New Mexico. Like that.
It is New Mexico. Okay. I was wondering.
He has
I couldn't
a place,
remember.
like a ranch. What ranch? I don't know.
I couldn't remember.
It's like a mansion ranch. It's New. Yeah, that's fair. It's New Mexico. So the only reason I'm saying that is you're saying like, I don't approve of Guantanamo. Yeah, but that's at least completely outside of U.S. jurisdiction. Even though I think we should get rid of it. My point, though, is do you or do you not admit that we have created concentration camps on U.S. soil?
So the reason why I resist your labeling of a concentration camp is that I believe that drastically undermines our legitimacy on the global stage. So for me, for anyone to sit here and say, oh, yeah, we're doing the exact same thing that the Fs did, in 1930s, we're literally playing into the playbook of opposition countries that want to continue to paint us at this monster. That way they can replace us on the global stage. The reality of the situation is that these types of detainment camps have existed for every administration. There's even worse extrajudicial camps. And frankly, I think people should be aware, a lot of these, Tren de Aragua individuals, they're now on the FTO list. So there is a lot of legal maneuver that's been opened up now that these organizations have been added to that list. And frankly, I think most people are going to be okay with the idea of putting a crackdown on organized crime groups.
I have to ask a question real quick. So what you're saying is we should hide the verbiage of concentration camps. We should not say what we all know they are to look better on the world stage.
So my problem with your language.
That was a yes/no question.
That's what he means. You said, Joey, it's a PR problem. Like you have no ethical or moral problem with the camps existing. You have a problem with the PR around the camps. That's what you said it, Joey. Like that's a gross. You basically said like. People... Sorry, Fuzzy. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I really didn't have anything. I was just about to ramble.
If you go to Alligator Alcatraz, right? If you roll up in there, how many people are in there that look like me and you? And I did look at your profile just to have an idea. Look like me and you are in there for overstaying their visas. How many of them? Because concentration camps usually target populations, right? So I'm willing to bet there isn't someone from Scotland sitting in there with their red beard that overstayed their visa.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea, are you aware of how many Ukrainian nationals we've taken in via the refugee program?
Many.
My understanding, we're at 250,000.
Wait, hold on. Are you talking about people we allowed to exist in the U.S. on temporary visas? Are you talking about...
Yeah, so
you're talking about the percentage of Ukrainians that we have in custody in concentration camps. Because I promise you the goal, and I'm just saying this because it's been revealed twice, the second denial of, and continuation of the restraining order that was just granted in appellate court, the appellate court over Los Angeles, is because every single shred of evidence that has been presented is that we are racially profiling people on skin color, on language spoken, on accent, on anything that would suggest they are from a country south of here. Right? I mean, that's why the restraining order against ICE arresting people in LA has been continued by the appellate court. It's because it would, I don't even want to say proven. I just mean we just believed the Trump administration when they said, yeah, we're targeting brown, black people who have accents and who speak Spanish. and are standing outside Home Depots. Look, their
Hence
words.
why a ranger and a police officer have both been arrested, or at least detained at this point.
I guess the reason I bring up the Ukrainian question is because I'm trying to break the narrative that, and essentially the racialization of this policy. At the end of the day, asylum seekers, refugees, they come from all spans of the world. They come from Africa, they come from Europe, they come from Asia, they come from Latin America. And ultimately, they are subject to the same laws. Now, if you want to say that there is a racial discrimination lawsuit that an appellate court is being upheld, I would say, hey, I would take it seriously once it hits the Supreme Court level. We've seen over and over.
Yeah,
Joey, stop. You're saying a federal court, an appellate court, saying, hey, we looked at this and absolutely there's racial profiling going on, because that's why it was so easily granted originally, was because these are the words, the undisputed words of ICE. This is how we do it. This is what we're looking for. It's the way they look. It's the way they sound. It's where they are. When we show up in fields, if you're there and you're brown, and even if you're speaking English, if you talk with an accent, we know what you're up to. And now you're saying, I'm just trying to get away from what is factually happening, what the Trump administration has stated is factually happening. I don't think you can really divorce yourself, Joey. What you got to do is just own it. You got to just be like, hey, I'm a bigot and a racist and I'm supporting Donald Trump, and that's what that now makes me. Because like, this is my thing about history, and I was not gonna, like, when I brought up the concentration camps, I just want you to know, because this is a common misconception of people who don't know history, right? Mustache Man Hitler came to the United States to meet one of his besties, the only American to ever have a shout out in Mein Kampf, which if everyone's like, what's that? It's Mustache Man's, it's called My Struggle in Georgia. Yeah, it's his like little autobiography. The only person that got a shout out in Mein Kampf was Henry Ford. Mustache Man Hitler had a photo of Henry Ford behind his desk until the day he unalived. He loved Henry Ford because Henry Ford was a prolific schmatzy / racist, and Hitler came here to tour the inventor of concentration camps, which was us, the United States. And like, the common misconception is like, well, like, where were the ovens? No, it was more just mass graves. Like, we engineered people out of existence, right? What Hitler wanted to know was like, how did you guys engineer indigenous populations out of existence with little to no resistance, right? Like, he wanted to understand colonization, repatriation, all of those horrific things that the United States had done so well, the Trail of Tears, everything he learned about concentration camps was from us.
Yeah, so there's a couple things I want to interject with here. I mean, this narrative that the Americans and, the fascists are just one of the same, and that, the Americans supported them, this is really like Cold War rhetoric. Like, to be totally frank with you.
No,
like,
it's
this
not.
is... Let me make the point. This idea of trying to equate the United States with the fascist regimes of the Third Reich, when we are literally the main reason for decolonization across the world, is the rhetoric that the Soviet Union did to demonize Americans to keep their populations for the Cold War. And when we play the identity politics of you have to own that you're an ist or a bigot, I'll tell you this. When we play identity politics in such a large country with so many different types of groups, so many different types of identities, we are making the nation weaker. And that's why, for me, the antidote to identity politics and the racialization, the othering, the division of groups based on these identity characteristics that they can't control is patriotism and putting an American identity as your primary identity. To me, that's the only way this country is going to survive, especially in a world that's increasingly becoming less stable, more erratic, and frankly, it's the only thing that's going to make this country survive. And that's why I stand behind it, and that's why I stand behind my rhetoric and my political party, because I do think it's the only way forward.
So do you believe you shouldn't question Donald Trump whatsoever? Because that's what it sounds like right now. It sounds like you want to say, if Donald Trump wants to do it, I am going to do the best I can to go along with it. And not only that, I'm like when he said, let's not talk about the island. Let's talk about Barack Obama. All right. Are you one that said, Barack Obama is a traitor? Did you go along with that rhetoric?
So to be totally honest with you, I'm not like a professional pundit. I'm not a professional press release person. Like, this is not my full-time job to like speak on every single.
Either.
Yeah, like to be honest with you, during the Epstein stuff, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, just call it E. Don't.
Oh yeah, sorry. But like, to be totally honest with you, like I don't see where I didn't know where the narratives were coming from. The narratives were all over the place. So, frankly, I had no idea what even was what was like the main contention.
Joey, you're smart enough to play stupid when it is convenient for you, which is what I would be doing. I don't want to get into the Epstein stuff and things like that. Yeah, I just want to focus on what you said about colonization. Like, you are implying that America is responsible for decolonizing the world, and I would say to you that is Joey, you're good at finance and numbers, or at least and this is again my memory of you. You have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to history. We are colonizers. This is what we do, right? We are the angry stepchild of the original colonizers, the British Empire, and then we took that colonizing mentality and we ran with it. Like, we are modern colonizers. We created trade triads, right? What is the third world, Joey? The answer is the third world is anyone who didn't take sides in World War II. And we decided, hey, if you fought with us, you get the spoils. If you fought against us, we're going to shit on you and accuse you of being communist, which is delusional and weird. Like, World War II, this is just, I can break your line of logic. One of the most fascinating things to ever come out of World War II was all of everything was, we're fighting fascists. Germany and Russia are fascists. Like, then Russia had to flip sides because Germany betrayed them. But this is us versus fascism. And somehow, outside of World War II, then it became, we're fighting communism. Come on. These are two opposite sides of the ideological spectrum. We were never fighting communism. Communism doesn't fight. There's no borders. There's no currency. There's certainly no military. There's no anything. We were never fighting communism. We were fighting fascism. And then you're saying, like, hey, we are the decolonizers. No, we are the modern colonizers. We take resources, minerals out from under indigenous people's feet. If they resist, we turn off their economies. We devalue their currency. Like, Joey, that's not true. But it sounded great. You're a white guy, though, so people probably will just be like, yeah.
It's okay. I didn't get the white card until 1898, so.
Oh, you did? No, I was like, wait, what?
No, seriously, we had to get a lawsuit. We had to get a lawsuit for my group. But we did eventually get the card. This is where we're getting into one of my favorite topics, right? Because we're drifting into like foreign policy and the traditional, like, America's a colonizer and is a threat to the third world. Look, I'll tell you this.
No, I didn't say that, Joey. We invented the third world. We invented it. It's whoever didn't take a side, who didn't raise a military, who didn't have one, and we then used it as an excuse to steal from them. This is just about people that have resources stealing from people that don't. That is what the third world is. We made it up to steal minerals and other natural resources out from indigenous people's feet who did not have a military during World War II.
So there's one thing I want to push back. At the end of the Second World War, when the old European empires that pretty much were the true colonizers that had pretty much the whole world under its boot, the United States made a very important decision to say, you know what? this old model of colonialism is not only just disastrous, anti-democratic, and essentially atrocity. It said you need to give up your control and allow self-determination. The United States allowing that to happen and putting pressure on the European powers, because let's be real, they were bankrupt from the Second World War, is why we have as many nations as we have today.
We were not bankrupt from the Second World War.
No, the Europeans were. The Europeans were.
And by the way, your delusional America-centric logic is so high school, like, history. What are you we didn't win anything. Russia won World War II on the Eastern Front. We showed up when it was over. And that's my sadness for the people who died in D-Day. Like, I think you are very confused who fought
the Japanese
World War II
Empire
and who showed up at the end. Oh yeah, we didn't necessarily even need to do that. That was just us flexing some, right? You're talking about something very detached from, but you were just waxing poetic about Europe. So I'm correcting you. World War II was won on the Eastern Front by Russia, whose their casualties show that, right? Yeah, and you're just saying we just arbitrarily decided in narcissism to drop a nuclear bomb on Japan, and that makes us the winners. It does not. A winner makes.
Really,
nor does it make us not colonizers, nor does it make us not responsible for the transatlantic slave trade years later. We are colonizers. We continued colonizing. We continued everything that we have done. We've continued it. We've perpetuated everything you're arguing that we stand for. Like, I agree with you. The idea of World War II, it's like, America's GI heroes. Here come the Joes, saving everyone. But that's not the reality of America's role.
I would say, at the end of the day, America created the world that exists today. I mean, our decision to, one, work with the Soviets and the communist world and to put aside huge ideological differences to defeat the Japanese and the Germans is what created the Cold War. It's the reason why the European nations were able to collapse and essentially give birth to 180 nations that are now independent and sovereign and represented inside the United Nations. All of these institutions that we rely on to create the world that we have today is a direct result of foreign policy of the United States. Instead of becoming the colonizer, which we could have become because the Europeans were bankrupt and they had no ability to actually enforce their will, we freed the world and we allowed for all these countries to exist. Now, if you want to say how we treat as
neocolonialism, thing you've ever said, and I mean that respectfully, that is so dumb. We literally colonized the Middle East. Like, you cannot be as dumb as you sound. Like, Joe, look, come on. We are colonizers. Like, this is mathematical. It's not up for interpretation. We colonized the Middle East why we're not following World War II. What is Israel, Joey?
Right, exactly. I was going to make that same point.
Are you fucking lost? Like, are you okay? Exactly.
Look, here's what I'll say. The reason why we're not communicating is because we can't agree on what the word colonization means. The United States does not go in and take the territory of Iraq or take the territory of Afghanistan. It is not an American territory.
We take the territory of Israel? Joey, I know you could do this. Did we take the territory of Israel? Did we make up a country that was not there and give it to random people that had no birthright to be there and just say, hey, Europeans and Americans who say they're Jewish, just go ahead, even though you have European ethnic, right, DNA, just go to this random patch of ground we just said belongs to you. So you have to know that we are absolutely 100% colonizers. It's not up for your debate or feeling.
And by the way, with what Felice just said, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joey, but with what she said, you realize that territory she's talking about has expanded immensely. And we're this close to seeing the end of the expansion to, well, not necessarily the end of the expansion, but the end of what they want. And Donald Trump sitting there going, I'll move in my town.
So my response is very simple. As the British Empire fractures and essentially everyone decolonized, the Jewish immigration that had been going on to the British Mandate of Palestine since the 1800s had been there for a very long time. This was an issue that had been building and building and building. And the moment that there was a power vacuum, that began the first conflict, the Jewish War of Independence or the Nakba, depending on whatever side you want. This was not an American experiment. This was a decolonization process.
No,
the American
it was an American experiment, which
in the United States.
Extermination. And let's be clear what it really was, because what America perfected, and we should be at 300K. Everyone needs to tap the screen, but I want to make sure we're clear, right? The original plan before the Nakba was what America does best, which is we socially engineer groups out of existence, right? And as a historian, this is something like that is most fascinating, because people are always like, God, how could the Holocaust happen? Don't worry about the Holocaust. Worry about the plans to slowly, over 50 years, socially engineer people out of existence, make it so hard for them to survive that they don't. That was the original plan. The Nakba was like, shit, we're running out of time. We've got a lot going on here. So we're going to need to clear this area a little faster. That's the truth, Joey. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, if you think that this sounds like, yeah, I'm firing on all cylinders, it doesn't. We've done this over and over and over, right? We fund a dissident group. Then they come to power. Then we say, oh, look, this dissident group's in power. How did this happen? Now we need to unalive all of them and call them a T group. I think colonization looks a little different nowadays, right, than it did in the past, but it's all still the same. It's at the expense of brown and black people in the global South.
So here's my disconnect, where, I understand what you're saying, but to say that a British policy on how they ran their colonies was somehow the predecessor and that's the reason why the Nakba happened is a British question. That's like saying let me finish. That's like saying the Americans are responsible for Kashmir, that the British imperial policy over the British Raj, which led to the current day Kashmir conflict, is the fault of the Americans. Am I British? Do I carry and pledge my loyalty to the King of England? I do not. I'm an American. And at the end of the day, the decolonization process of every single British colonial territory was incredibly violent and still continues to this day. Pretty much every single conflict that we see is from these issues that the British were able to just cover up when they had it as an empire. And now that they're independent and they can do their own foreign policy, they want to push the issue. The British just covered up internal issues that were always there. And to blame the Americans for those internal issues is disingenuous at best.
You have to know that I was never talking about anything that you are now talking. That's not what I was talking about. First of all, first of all, Great Britain being horrific colonizers who terrorized brown and black people all over this world, and not just Great Britain, but other European countries, and setting up the transatlantic slave trade and all sorts of horrors that I could go into what happened in the spice trade and the slave trade that's still going on throughout that route. Cool. You're trying to say right now is that because Great Britain started it, that you can somehow, that runs cover for us continuing it. No, that's not true. Every single time, Joey, and I'm not talking about Great Britain in the 1800s and using it as an excuse. Every time a brown person shows up at the southern border, I can tie it back to our colonization efforts. Sophisticated now than computers. In Southern America, I can tie it back to our interference in economies that have a land bridge to the south of here. I can tie it back to our CIA, our quote unquote war on drugs, our sanctioning other economies. If you're implying that, like, because Spain originally colonized South America, that I can't tie America or Donald Trump specifically to a failed coup in Venezuela that led to all the people being at the southern border, I absolutely can.
So this is a great one. I'm glad you picked the Venezuela example, right? So stop me if I'm wrong.
But before you pivot, can you answer what I said? Like, that is such a simplification to be like, well, England came first and now you're just trying to tack on America. I can tie when I talk about colonization and America's interference in the third world, I can tie it to America. Oop, hold on. Sorry. Puzzle piece. Okay, we're not going to get shit. We're good. Sorry.
Sure. My response is very short and simple. You try to tie the birth of Israel to America. I would say, what is your evidence? The fact that most of the Israeli settlers come from Europe. There are more Jewish people inside America than there are in Israel. There's a reason why this, in my view, is a European issue. And if it's not a European issue, it's a local issue that's been going on for 200 plus years, even when it was a Palestinian
colony.
Joey,
I'm going to give you one chance. You cannot figure out Joey, seriously, or your credibility is shot. You can't figure out one giant issue that would mean that every single thing that's happened in Israel since its formation is a result of America. You can't think of any reason that ties us directly to every single thing that has happened in Israel. You can't be this dumb.
We were just talking about it, just so you know. We were just talking about it.
You're going to claim the recognition of Israel is why?
No, I'm going to claim money is what I'm going to claim, because we have paid for all of it, because our Congress approves the funds that allow them to exist, and by the way, in case anyone didn't know this, that allow for free college to be paid for young Israelis, that we will never have access to. It is our funds that go to Israel that has funded every single thing they have done since their inception, period. The majority of every dollar they have has come from us, period. End of story. Without that money, none of this shit would have happened.
And real quick, you got what Felice is saying? Marjorie Taylor Greene actually had a wonderful speech on the floor about exactly what.
That's because she's an anti-Semite, but she's an actual which is the ultimate. Like, people keep calling me an anti-Semite because I'm like, hey, we shouldn't be like starving children. We shouldn't all be sitting here watching a G-side. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is an actual anti-Semite who's like, hey, like, let's stop giving Israel money because I'm an anti-Semite. People are like, yeah.
But she had two wonderful lines about free school.
I know what you're talking about. I saved some of them. I'm trying to find. Let me just. Actually, I might not have the one. I know what you're talking about though, but it was so good. But here's some of them. She said, "This is some of her house floor speech, but not all of it." Because I tried. I know what you're talking about. I was like, "This is the effing Twilight Zone."
I thought I was in a weird.
Keep tapping the screen, Fuzzy. Can you remind people to tap the screen for me?
Tap the screen, you guys, real quick. And you guys, I am not seeing enough heart me's above Felice's head. You guys hit the heart me's. They cost a penny. A penny. If you can't do a heart me, so what they are, right next to Felice's name, you see that heart right next to her name? Tap that, and then it will. Someone has an echo. Might be me. I don't know.
Is it me?
Tap that, and the heart me will go above her head. Okay, and then this is the part I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but you have to follow up.
I think everyone knows better than us. Yeah, we got it. But let me just read these before I lose them. Okay, so these are some of Marge Greene's floor speech. Told Daily Mail she'd become disillusioned with the Republican Party. Quote, "I don't know if the Republican Party is leaving me. You just never knew what the was going on, Margarine. No offense, but you were just no clue. Or if I'm kind of not relating to the Republican Party as much anymore, I don't know which one it is. I think the Republican Party has turned its back on America first and the workers and just regular Americans. Yeah, Marge is actually has gotten smart. She could see what's coming for her. And she's like, I'm not getting reelected if I don't do this. Marge complained that government spending hasn't been cut. Yeah, it hasn't just not been cut. It's grown. The size of government, the swamp has grown. The deep state hasn't been prosecuted. Epstein files haven't been released, and foreign aid to U.S. allies like Ukraine hasn't stopped. Like, what happened to all those issues? When Margarine's the voice of reason. I don't know what the hell happened with the Republican Party. I really don't. Really? But I tell you one thing, the course that it's on, I don't want to have anything to do with it, and I just don't care anymore. Then get out of office. Marge predicts Republican turnout in Georgia is going to be down in 2026 because of these issues and Trump not being on the ballot. She didn't predict that. That's a common mathematical phenomenon of the midterms. Marjorie didn't come up with that. Quote, this is her quote about it though. It's very lukewarm, not exciting Republican ballot. You're just not going to get the turnout there that's needed, especially when we came off the last election and only won the state by 115,000 votes. Oh, I can smell that blood in the water in Georgia. Margarine has the largest social media following, too, of any Republican woman. That's why this is crazy, and I never heard this before I read it. She has 7.5 million followers on X. And here's the beauty of it. She also complained about how the Republican Party treats women. How you treat women, B? Like, are you kidding me? Like, is this a nightmare? Wait, I just have to read this one more quote, then I'll let it go, because I'm just like, it's so funny.
It was a great day to listen to this.
I think there's other women in our party that are really sick and tired of the way men treat Republican women. I think there's other women, Republican women, who are really sick and tired of them. And the one that really got shafted was Elise Stefanik. And if you're like, what the F is she talking about, right? Elise Stefanik, I mean, is a pathological liar. But she did all the right lies, right? For Trump. She did all the things. She was third in command in the 118th Congress, did all the right things, and she was supposed to be the new Nikki Haley, the new UN ambassador. But Mike Waltz decided to allow journalists to be sucked up into his contacts on Signal whilst they're discussing war plans. And so Trump, quote unquote, fired him, which, by the way, we now know a couple things. One, Mike Waltz was never fired. Remember, we're rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. We've paid his salary every single day. He never was fired. Number two is that Pete Hegseth absolutely had classified information in that Signal chat. And number three is that because apparently Mike Waltz knows too much, Trump gave Elise Stefanik's office in the sky, if you know where the UN is in New York City, very beautiful office, to Mike Waltz to keep him quiet. Sorry, I know that was too long. I'm landing the plane now.
No, you're fine. It's your live. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, I can't see you. Are you here?
Yeah, he's still.
I'm just thinking, I can't see your square on my PC. Okay.
Well, most MAGA, you're not used to being well behaved like Joey. So I will give. He's not as intelligent as you said he was, but he is well behaved.
Yeah, I mean,
you haven't talked about finance. This is not Joey's. These are Joey's opinions. Joey's good at numbers.
And he probably keep my ass at finance. I'm not good at finance, so.
Well, I think the big thing too is like, if you do enough of the like vicious debate lives, you just start to realize it's like listening to like family squabbling. Like I don't know. It's not fun anymore. It's just like, I feel bad. I'm just like, no one's communicating and everyone's just getting hurt more. Not to sound too
because I met you like on Jay's, like when you debated like Jay, you mean like just the regular debate lives and the.
Yeah. It's like, it's
Well,
You know what I mean? It's like,
one side would have to be willing to concede something, right? Like this is just why I stopped debating for a long time. Like no one wants to learn anything.
yeah, I think. Look, I listen to the left simply because if you're going to have a worldview, you have to be able to handle the critiques. So, you know, even if it's just for selfish reasons, you have to understand where your weak points are. And even, you know, if you're trying to run cover and, you know, you want to shift the narrative on those particular points, at least you know where they're going to attack you. But deep down, you know, it's politics. Unfortunately, it's a very dirty game that we play. In my view, there's not a lot of morality or goodness in this. This is just a struggle for survival of different groups.
Joanna, are you there? I cannot see anybody I'm adding to this live. Can you?
So can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Fuzzy. Okay, there you are. I can. Yeah, I'm just sorry it took so long. I don't know. Something is wrong with TikTok Studio.
I can see both of them, but the chat's saying
Hold
they
on.
can see
Joanna
me.
wants to say something really quick. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me, Joanna? Go ahead.
Yep, I can hear you. I just wanted to hop on and say, hey, y'all, hey, and I'm not sure what's going on. I know everybody's rage commenting in the comments because we're sick of it. However, you're not tapping like you're upset. So I need y'all to make those yapping fingers, tapping fingers. Y'all know that I like coming up here to cuss y'all out every now and then, but I can't do that right now because I'm in the company of someone that I don't cuss around, but I can still let y'all have it. Y'all know that I'm a fairly verbose person, so I can still let y'all have it. I need y'all to get that tap going. Also, we need Felice to go ahead and change that gift goal because y'all met it and we greatly appreciate y'all for that.
Sorry.
If you also want to donate, that's okay. You've been having to deal with Magamush Brain up here. If y'all want to donate, that's one of the best ways to support the live and support Felice. The tip jar information is on the screen. I'll post it periodically in the comments as well. It's at A Girl Has No Name on Cash App and Venmo. That's also greatly appreciated. Shout out to Fuzzer for telling y'all to get those heart me's in because y'all were real slow on doing that as well. We can get these shares out too. We're at 428, but there are 550 people in here, so it should be at least at 550 if everybody shared it once. Get those shares going too. Love the glasses, Felice. The top knot is also top knotting. Great to see you back. Miss you when you're gone. Love you when you're here. Appreciate y'all for getting those gifts in already. If you want to send other gifts, you can do that too. That's just the goal she has set because we love those cute little hearts on her face. I know everyone's annoyed. Like I said, I need y'all to channel that annoyance and that rage into taps. Joey, I have heard you before. We do appreciate the politeness. The stupidity is what's getting on our nerves. You don't seem to listen. I'm not sure why you don't think that America has always been colonizing, and we still are. Even within this country, right? And it's not an exclusive American thing. It's more of a white racist thing. Kicking out brown and black people with accents while giving carte blanche to racist white South Africans to come over here. What do you call that?
I think rage baiting, I would say, is the tactic.
By Trump. Yeah, we agree. It's a great idea. Or a debt he owed Elon Musk, one or the other.
Well, I think the other thing
nobody can come in, Joey, from other countries, and then you're like, except for this country where white colonizers reign supreme. And believe me, because I ran statistical analysis, I did a live on this. There is no reality where Afrikaans, people of Dutch and German descent, are being discriminated against in South Africa. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. They have higher upward mobility, average income. They are less likely to be incarcerated. Any measurable statistic would say allow Black South Africans to immigrate here. They are being discriminated against.
I think let's put a little realpolitik into this. It's also a pressure point. The South Africans, trying to push themselves closer to the BRICS countries. That's a chip that you can use because they're very, very sensitive about that topic because it's a country that's very much a powder keg. It's beyond just, the YTs versus
I
the
just
BLK.
want to you're wrong before you wax poetic. No, their government agrees with me. You're wrong.
What
Their
point,
government does not think that this is a helpful thing or it's just or they're being courted by America. They think Trump's a delusional liar. Like I just want to be clear. You
that's not what
that
I said, though.
It's you're saying that they might be moving closer to BRICS. That's not the reality. If anything, thank you so much for the gifts. I appreciate it. I will reset the gift code, Joanna. If anything, it's had the opposite effect. The president of South Africa is more angry with Trump, more angry about the lies. Every single thing that Donald Trump said about why South Africa, those, whatever it was, like 40 people needed to come here, has been debunked. It's all lies.
I think that's where we're having a miscommunication here. From an American perspective.
Do you accept that every single reason Donald Trump sat there and said, here is this cemetery where these people are buried because white South African farmers are being killed? Every single thing he said, every video he played was a lie. Yes or no?
To be honest with you, I didn't watch the videos, so
you have no idea. So, and that's probably, I want to believe that's why you're taking such a dumb position, but I can help you. Every single thing that Trump claimed was a mother effing lie. And the people that did the research are so bad at it that they had him playing videos or showing cemeteries in other countries. That's how dumb it was. Not one thing that he said was real. Then I did a real deep dive, right? And the actual people who've been killed on farms in South Africa are not the white landowners. As a matter of fact, it's people working for white landowners. If anything, it's black people who've been killed while working on farms of white landowners.
Yeah, I think the disconnect we have here is that this is a region where the government can no longer enforce law and order, and there is violence across all groups.
That's not true. That's not true, Joey.
What?
That's just something that sounds good in your mind. That's not true. The government cannot enforce anything. I just want to be clear. Regardless of the average rate of violent crime in South Africa, Donald Trump told 100% of lies. Right? You can talk about the violent crime rate that disproportionately affects black people in Africa, right? Like, you can have a real conversation about any of that, none of which would then lead to white people needing to immigrate here as refugees. It's mathematically incorrect, Joey. There's no let me just say a generalized statement that will make any of this true. It's not true.
So did you by any chance see the press conference in the Oval Office that Felice is referencing?
Best I saw was the memes. However, I'm not just so you know, you're specifically let me just talk real quick. I'm well aware of what goes on in South Africa. I'm well aware of the history. I personally know South Africans. So just because I didn't watch this particular press conference...
You know a South African person? Cool story, Joey. Should we see who knows more? I think I've been there, so I've met probably more than... Do you understand
You've been at J-Town?
You knowing a South African... No, Joey, you're missing my point. You having met a South African does not matter in the facts, right? Of rates of crime, of who's disproportionately being discriminated against. It has nothing to do with statistical analysis. Your experience, your firsthand experience with South Africans, nor mine, has anything to do with this.
Yeah, I'll happily talk I'll agree with you. Anecdotal evidence doesn't beat statistical data, but when we're talking about statistics, you can form any narrative. And my narrative is quite simple. There is disproportionate violence across the board in rural South Africa. And you might say, oh, it affects all ethnic groups. And I would say I agree with you. And also this whole YT versus
disproportionately affects Black Africans in South America.
Well,
disproportionately, grossly disproportionately affects Black South Africans in South America. So if we were going to identify a population of people that needed refuge, the last people we would identify would be the Afrikaans, also known as the white Dutch/German South Africans. That's what I'm trying to say. Not my personal experience, not yours. Mathematically, who is being affected by violence is not white South Africans.
So, again, I think the disconnect that we're having here is that the criteria for asylum and for people to file for asylum doesn't require that you're disproportionately affected.
No, I want to help you with what, since you didn't watch it and didn't read any of the press releases. Donald Trump said that there was a white genocide being perpetrated against white South Africans in South Africa. All of that has been mathematically and factually proven to be a lie. Period. Not one word of Donald Trump's claims of why those couple dozen people or 3 dozen people need to come here or whatever the F it was. Every single word of it has been mathematically and factually proven to not be the case.
So, Felice, where we're not communicating here is you're operating that only disproportionate matters. But when it comes to asylum, anyone...
I'm saying when the President of the United States takes interest in a couple dozen people, it says, I have decided there's a white genocide going on in Africa. When we know in West Africa, in North Africa, in all places in Africa, there are genocides happening, and they are all affecting Black Africans. And for him to say, hey, I'm going to make up literally, and I wouldn't say pathological unless it was that much of a lie. There's no math backing it up. There's no rhyme, no reason other than Elon Musk, I think, maybe wanted that. I can't figure out anything else. Maybe it was a favor, because I do want to make sense of it in my head. Like, what? There's no line of logic in which any of that makes sense.
The line of logic is that the Americans want to apply pressure to the South African government, particularly the ANC. I think that's a very clear, logical reason. And bringing this to the international stage is exactly what the South African government doesn't want for their own internal policies.
Bringing what to the international stage? How many times does she have to say it was complete lies before you get it? Like, the disconnect, the actual real disconnect in reality, is the fact that you have these super strong opinions about things, yet the information that you got about what we're actually talking about now was from memes. Like, where's the actual information, Brian?
For me, it's
the pressure on the South African government, just to be clear, it has moved them away from us. So, Joey, like, if anything you're saying, because Joey, I know, I get it. You're arguing the converse, and it sounds good, but if anything, the result has been the South African government moving deeper into alliance with China. Every single foreign trade policy move or immigration move Trump has made China stronger. So, like, don't invoke BRICS, don't invoke Brazil, don't invoke things you don't understand unless you want to go there. Because every single thing Trump did in South Africa has moved South Africa closer to China.
All I'm trying to say is that when we're dealing...
Well, you're not right about it. Like, that's the thing. It sounds good, though. I like when you talk so calmly.
What I'll say is this. You know, the individual asylum claims, I believe you mentioned it was 3 dozen people, right? That are filing. If these individuals, if they're found that their asylum claim is not legitimate by our courts, so be it.
It's not. No, it's. You understand? It doesn't work like that. Trump granted them whatever. These are some randos.
Refugees.
Yeah,
refugees can be revoked though. We did it to the Haitians.
You don't understand immigration law then, so that's a whole nother thing. But Trump can, as can any president, since we've never changed immigration law, identify affected individuals and bring them here. It is not anything like if you believe that courts can overturn his will, they won't. And I think you already know that, and you aren't that dumb.
Status?
Well, yeah, like temporary protected status, like exactly what he gave to Venezuelans, what he gave to Haitians. Like, you must be familiar
weren't they
with
South Africans? Aren't they under temporary protection?
Well, I mean, hold on. I don't.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
There's many different. It does not. Well, let me.
So Joey, real quick,
recognizing the actual problem, like when Venezuelans got TPS and the Haitians got TPS, it's because they were being targeted and they had been harmed in their home countries. That was the premise for them coming over here and receiving that status, right? Mm-hmm. The white South Africans that were granted refugee status that didn't particularly ask for it, Donald just said, hey, y'all can come over here because, dark enlightenment, which if you don't know what that is, Joey and everybody else in here, go look it up. It's the ideology that Elon espouses, Peter Thiel, and the good old VP that's here now, him too. Yeah. The entire premise for them receiving the status that they received was all lies in the first place, is the point.
I guess the problem is that individuals can have legitimate asylum claims.
Yeah, okay, but that's not what's going on, because I just looked it up. So, Joey, and honestly, you're smart enough, don't make me do your work for you. This was all orchestrated by Trump. The government of South Africa disputes this, disputes that these people qualify for refugee status inside America. The government of South Africa says they have proof, and I've read some of it, but has to do with an executive order unique to, quote, on addressing egregious actions of the Republic of South Africa, which I did an entire live, Joey. I'm not going to look up the statistical analyses, but not one of these claims in Trump's executive order are true. Well, yeah, then why are you arguing this disingenuously if you know?
When I said I know,
you do know. You must know.
Let me finish.
Don't waste my time, Joey. I'm getting impatient with this.
You said I don't want to look up all the statistics, and I said no worries, it's okay. I wasn't going to have a match where I say, oh, prove your claim, and then we're going to do a court deposition. I'm going to accept the premise. I'm not going to fight you on it. All I'm trying to say is that the United States government, depending on what status they're granted, will do their own investigation, and we should allow that.
You understand refugee and asylum are two different grants, right?
Yes.
Extremely different.
Asylum claims are unique, which any white person in South Africa can make an asylum claim, just like brown people all around the world can try to do. And I just want to be clear, because of the lies Trump told, the government of South Africa has completely said, like, this is all a lie. We can prove it. The people he's taken have been convicted of crimes and on normal circumstances would not be allowed into the U.S. And because the South African State Department refuses to work with Trump because he won't stop lying, what it actually says is, hey, we will no longer be working with the South African government on this because they won't work with us and say that these people shouldn't be here. So now we're working with a non-governmental organization called Resettlement Support Center Africa, which is a white nationalist organization. I'm sorry, I just cross-referenced. I have several tabs open, which is a white nationalist South African resettlement organization. So you have no idea what you're talking about, or you do, which is much scarier.
So all I would say is this: the United States government has breakdown relationships with
I'm
governments all
telling
the
you,
time.
the South African government has no part of this, says they can prove these people don't qualify for refugee status, have committed crimes. Under normal circumstances, they would never be admitted. So Trump, I'm reading, the U.S. Embassy and consulates in South Africa is now working with an NGO.
And all I'm trying to say here is that the South African government, we should conduct our own investigation. And just like with the Venezuelans, where they do not collaborate with the United States when we process Venezuelans, we also receive people, even if we don't communicate with their government, and we make our own independent adjudications.
Joey, real quick, can you see the picture of the image that I have down below? Just look at
yes. That's the farmers' crosses, right?
The crosses, yeah, exactly. So that's the one Donald Trump said that was an unaliving of a white farmer. You know how many crosses that are? Way too many. They were taken down 2 days later. Why? Because it was an art performance it was a protest and an art performance by a gentleman after I think it was 2 farmers that were unalived because I think it was the government was trying to take their land, but it was literally just 2. He said every one of those represented a grave. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I guess for me, Fuzzard, I'm not actually reading the individual cases. These people very much could have had essentially their land taken via eminent domain by the South African government.
They didn't. I looked it up.
But let me ask you this.
Well, I'm
Is
just
that from
telling,
the South African
I can
government?
answer your question. I looked it up. They didn't.
So what is their asylum claim then? Or what
I
is
did
their
a 3-hour live. Too bad Chris isn't here because we did 3-hour live
Yeah,
on
no
this. Yeah,
It's not
they
an
did
asylum
not.
claim.
They did not. Period. But if you're
Donald
saying,
Trump went over.
like, because I could go into why that's so incorrect, because that's just a lie in and of itself to then like imply like, oh, these people's lands have been taken as a result, and that's racist. No, it actually has to do with original colonization, which you have a problem acknowledging, and actual people's lands being taken, stolen. It has to do with apartheid. But no one's lands have been taken. If they are being unused, the government has offered to buy them back. There are land distribution reports on this that you can read. That's just something Trump said.
Well, I think the other big thing too is
If you do give up your farm to the government who's trying to collect farmland for purposes, then you are paid, right? Just like when we eminent domain,